Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. If you need a roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting. They're the best in the business. They don't not only do roofing, they do gutters, they do siding, they do windows. They do anything you need, sun porches, decks, whatever you need. Make sure you give Ireland Contracting a call at 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Give us a call right now on the Borders and Borders hotline, 412-575-2600. We'll continue our Steelers discussion. And one thing I do want to point out, and I was talking about it earlier in the show, is Chris Boswell. Chris Boswell is probably like the fifth or sixth problem right now, but that is a big problem for the Steelers going into next year.
Yeah, and that's why what's the kid's name they signed for the last game, the kicker?
Matt McClure, I think, or
McCune, whatever his name is. That guy.
3 for 3, he was perfect.
They signed him. That's why they signed him. There'll be a kicker competition in the.
But he doesn't have the leg. You know, he doesn't have the leg that Chris Boswell does.
Yeah,
he might have the. I foresee them maybe picking up a guy in the not a veteran guy, but maybe one of these young guys coming out of college.
Yeah, it just kicks the ball a mile. But the bottom line is, here's the thing: in the NFL, you need to make those kicks that are 40 yards and in.
You need to make extra points.
And extra points.
Yeah.
And so if you've got a guy that maybe doesn't have quite as strong of a leg, but is accurate, so to me, I think that's a situation that'll take care of itself. There's some things on this stat. And here's the other thing from the top down, and I wrote about this a little bit today. They've got to get better at holding guys accountable and and accountability. And to me, I don't know what the message you sent to your team or to anybody else really that, for instance, a guy like Danny Smith comes back. You fired a running backs coach, but a guy like Danny Smith, whose units were atrocious this year, comes back. To me, if you're Art Rooney and you really want to send a message, that's the kind of move you make. That's the kind of move where you say, okay, we're going to take a guy who's a main important part of the staff, and we're going to replace him. They got to do better at that. Mike Tomlin's got to do better at things like the attention to details. And I don't like the word discipline, but he's got to do a better job of nipping things in the butt when they start to happen. When a player starts to take advantage of things and things, you know what I mean? He's got to step in and get it before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, this Antonio Brown situation has become a problem, and it's been going on for quite some time. And when guys like Bruce Arians and Emmanuel Sanders, I know they're not on the team, but they've come out and spoken about it. They, and then you see Antonio Brown lashes out at them. It just goes to show you what's going on right now, and it's just really a situation that I don't think can be resolved other than to trade the guy. But I don't think that they're going to trade him unless they are getting at least a first-round draft pick. They're not going to just give this guy away just to get him out of here. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Michael out in Johnstown. What's up, Michael?
Hey, thank you for patching me in.
Yep.
I have something I just want to say. Trade. You get rid of Brown, get rid of Bell, and trade them in 2 years. Get a #1 pick in 2 years and get the quarterback from Clemson.
Well, how do you know that quarterback couldn't even be there? I'm sure a lot of guys want the quarterback at Clemson right now. How do you know you'd even get them? I mean, they need to get as much as they can. They need to do it by the combine. I'm sure they've worked. I'm sure they have some teams that they know they could trade with, and it's got to be teams with cap numbers, right?
Plus, the quarterback from Clemson has 2 more seasons.
Yes, he's a freshman.
Before he's even coming out, he could get hurt. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. I mean, you can't bank on that.
Yeah, but he looks pretty good. Trevor Lawrence,
I think he'll be really
good.
But my point is, that is what's this 2018?
So he would be coming out. He'd be drafted in 21.
21. Yeah. We're talking about the 2021 draft.
All right, let's go out to Rob out in the Hill District. What's up, Rob?
Hey, guys. I got a simple solution. I know y'all ain't going to agree with it, but I think
we might.
Antonio Brown is a diva, but he's a great player, and I feel like Ben's the problem. He got Haley fired. He want to run stuff. He bashes his teammates on the radio. He throws interceptions in the red zone to cost the game. I say let's get a bunch of draft picks for Ben. And because Mason Rudolph, he had a similar career than like Baker Mayfield in college, get him ready, man. He's going to be a great quarterback.
Well, the one thing I agree with what you're saying, Rob, I agree with the fact that you know, maybe in a couple years it is Mason Rudolph's turn. Or some other guy that if they can, it looks like Mason Rudolph's going to be a guy. They're not going to waste another high draft pick on him. I think you're not going to get much for Ben Roethlisberger now, I don't think. 1 year left on his deal. He's going to restructure his.
You could get a lot for him, I think.
More than Antonio Brown?
Yes.
So how many more years do you think Ben has? 3?
Probably 3, but I mean, you mean to tell me if you picked up the phone right now and called Jacksonville and said, we're willing to trade you Ben Roethlisberger, they wouldn't send a king's ransom back to you? I mean, my point is...
You're going to get a first-rounder for both of them. You might get more for Ben Roethlisberger.
Here's my thing. You're not going to trade Ben Roethlisberger.
No. People
He's going to retire as a Steeler.
People covet guys like that. You're right about it.
You can't trade him, and you don't trade him. And I think, though, that... Was it Rob that just called? Brings up some really good points about Ben needing to be a little bit more accountable and held a little more accountable, just like his teammates. I mean, you know, some of the things that he does, to me, are not conducive to being a good teammate. And you know what? You're the leader of the team or whatever else. You've got to understand that your actions probably hold more weight or carry more weight than other guys. Again, I think the most telling thing about the way the guys in that locker room feel about Ben, that he's been a starting quarterback, 17 years, 16 years, whatever it's been, and he's won the MVP, voted on by his teammates one time. That tells you everything.
I mean, but some of these votes are split too, and he did have that period where
one time
he did have that period. But I think he's kind of won the locker room over a little bit. I understand guys have a problem with what he says and being critical of guys.
He's not obviously doing that Dale Carnegie thing where, you know, winning friends and influencing people. He's not doing a good job of that in his own locker room.
You know, Tom Brady, he never calls out anyone.
Well, I mean, sometimes you'll see him yelling at guys on the sidelines.
But not in the media.
But after games, he doesn't. And again, I hate to always compare people to Brady and the Patriots and all that other stuff. Ben can be Ben. I'm just saying there are things he needs to do better if he really wants to be that teammate and that leader that he desires to be.
You know, Bob Sassy just tweeted us, Le'Veon Bell awfully silent lately, and chance Steelers give him what he wants on a contract. Thoughts on the locker room taking sides on Brown fiasco? I do not think Le'Veon Bell's. I think there's a better chance of Brown coming back over Le'Veon Bell. That would be my opinion.
And the reason is I just don't think the Steelers are going to give him what he wants.
No, he's not going to get what he wants. I don't know if any team's going to give him what he wants.
They're not going to change the contract that they offered him last year. He'd be stupid to take it this year. He wasted a year of it.
And he's not going to. They're not going to offer him that franchise deal because that's close to $30 million. So
whatever it is, I mean, you know,
that would be ridiculous.
I can't see him coming back. No.
All right, we got more phone calls on the line over here. Dylan, John, Joe, Greg will try to get to you after the break. Back in a couple minutes.